Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, and a very special day ahead as we have the biggest event in cryptocurrency land that we could ever possibly have ever, and that is the richest man in the world, Mr. Elon Musk, is going to be appearing on the most popular television show of all time. Well, probably not. Maybe like 20 years ago, it's like the most popular one. But nowadays, well, I imagine the internet has completely overshadowed that. Anyways, with that said, we have a lot to prepare for. I want to make a concerted effort to make this video a little bit on the shorter side. And when I mean shorter side, I mean less than 20 minutes. And with that said, we're going to be focused on Ethereum, Dogecoin, and a little bit of Bitcoin action as well. And with that in mind, I would like to wish you the best and the happiest. Let's get into it right now, starting off with the Krown Chain application, which can be found at app.krownchain.net. There's a link to the description below. And by the way, we do have mobile functionality coming either, it might have actually even come last night, but either today or tomorrow if it has not. Anyways, okay, what do we see? What's new here? A couple new things, actually. We do see Bitcoin dominant, still kind of awesome, well, still kind of awesome within the same range, but ultimately trending down as this rally does continue for the altcoin Bitcoin pairs for the most part. Led mostly, I wouldn't say it's led necessarily by Ethereum, but I think Ethereum is kind of like a greater index of the altcoin market, which will be looking at the Bitcoin pair in there too. Fear and greed index still stuck at a 67 or just in the 60s range, which this market is somewhat optimistic coming out of this nice base, and that's exactly how it should be in a macro bullish market. I look at this as more or less neutral. We don't see anything crazy here. I really start to get concerned with this, both to the upside above like 90 and to the downside in the single digits. Anyways, with that in mind, open interest over here, we do see 9.750 billion with a B. I need to look at the price action chart overlaid with the open interest chart in order to really get a good idea of what's going on right there, as I forget exactly where we were yesterday, but we'll check that on the market data tab soon enough. Anyways, as far as the top 10 best coins, top 10 worst coins, we got Bitcoin dominant bakery token, cake swap, sushi swap, pancake swap, whatever the fuck swap. Gummy swap. Sorry, shouldn't have done that one, but you know what I mean. Anyways, Nem, Thorchain, Icon, Cosmos, Lisk, huh? Dogecoin up there too. Again, yet again, man. Another 25 and 6.66% right there. I mean, this thing's just been going straight to the goddamn moon over the last 2 weeks, unabated mostly. Top 10 worst coins, we got Qtum, Ethereum Classic, EOS, Omisio, Neo, Tesos, BitTorrent, Bitcoin SV, BAT, and Tron coughing up the gains from yesterday, it looks like. And now let's go into the market data tab and let's see that open interest overlaid with the price action chart. Okay, so we really haven't seen too much of a change from yesterday to today. Did have a slight uptick ultimately as Bitcoin essentially reclaims a medium-term time frame range, but more or less we're going sideways here. And while the general disposition of this has always been a macro resolution to the upside, the question remains, does Bitcoin come back down and test the bottom side of the long-term time frame range before trying another upside continuation move? I think with the advent of what we've seen in the last 24 hours on Friday closure for CMEs, it's looking a lot more likely that Bitcoin does not do that. However, still sideways and more or less kind of boring for the time being as some of the other actors within this market take over for a bit. Anyways, I do want to check out the funny rate over here. Again, this would still be pointed towards a little bit more, a little bit more on the bullish side here. Yes, FTX is way the fuck out there, but that's going to be taken off with the next update. And we do see that everything else is more or less inconsequential. So I don't look at this as anything too nasty here. As long as these things aren't above like 0.01 when Bitcoin is around the higher term time frame range resolution, I don't look at that as, well, anything like, actionable, more importantly. What else do we see over here? Bitcoin dominance, just a complete fucking catastrophic drop down. Not so catastrophic for the altcoin holders, especially if they're playing the Bitcoin parents. But other than that, we don't really see anything that's too new here. So we're going to go into the charts now. We'll start off with Mr. Buteral today. And what do you know? Buteral coming back up to the top side of the range we said was likely yesterday. And I would be looking for continuation from this posture as well. Topside Toronto band will be a natural sort of basing off area to the upside on that next break, and that is currently situated, as you can see, at about 3750-ish region, and that is getting in line with our fib extensions for getting that next sort of targeted region. I do see a few coming in at this lower level right here. These are usually not like reversal areas. If anything, just a short-term stop. Ultimately, I'm really looking towards about $4,000, maybe $50 above or below. Anywhere around there looks good for me for the next sort of maybe more long, or I wouldn't say long-term, but medium-term basing area. As far as momentum oscillators look like on Ethereum right now, we do see on top of trend, just straight to the fucking moon. Daily SMI is actually still increasing right here, although histogram is losing a little bit of some momentum. Same thing on daily MACD histogram as well. And daily DMI ADX is actually really interesting right here. I would have expected to see the DMI plus alongside the ADX both get positive slopes, but we actually don't see that. So this is saying what I believe the chart is actually showing right here just quite easily, in the sense that we are looking at essentially a consolidation. We haven't necessarily broken broken out just yet on Ethereum, but the breakout should be precipitated by these babies turning up. And as momentum turns up, we do see trend continuation here, essentially, with those upside targets in mind. Basically, we can just say $4,000, give or take a few bucks there. Ultimately, do I think that things stop there for a long time? No, I don't. I do think that Ethereum is actually still kind of in the process, in the early stages of getting going here, not to sound like a complete fucking boolah, but most importantly, we do see that the weekly Challenger bands are once again being closed above for the first time in a while, actually, after that about 2.5 month long consolidation that just got actually resolved last week of April, in fact. So we do see that we're going to have another chance to close above the topside Challenger band coming into tomorrow, that being Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and that would make me essentially look for continuation of trend to the upside on the weekly time frame over the next week or two. 2 new all-time highs is going to be implied on top of that as well. And just, anytime that we actually have seen a closure above the topside Challenger band within the context of an upwards market, meaning the trend is the upside in this case, then we actually have seen some pretty amazing moves from Mr. Buterin specifically. We can actually start with this one over here, which was obviously one of the most muted ones, and you could say that this is really the start of the actual long-term trend reversal, to be fair, after the 3-month-long accumulation. But even this one, which is rather muted, was only 73, or was still 73%. I mean, that's rather impressive, right? We see this one over here closing above the topside Challenger band, and then continuation, and this one really doesn't stop until we get all the way over here, and it's about a 300% move. Not bad. And this one obviously well after the actual break of structure. So this one was, a little bit more comparable, kind of what we're doing right now. Then we have a couple more iterations back on over here in 2017 on that phenomenally biblical-esque type rally. And we had this, we had this iteration right here, about 250% to the upside, rather impressive. And then we had this baby over here for actually this first leg was about 325%. That number starting to become a little bit more common here. And then we get this one right here for the next major high, which is 485%. So, if we were to take the average of that, not to say that this is like the best way to be doing it, but to just give it its idea of what this is relative to or relevant to historically speaking, we can start to add on, let's just say like 200%. Let's be very conservative with this. How about that? Just a clean 200%. And if you have a good mental math structure in your mind, which I do not, then 200% to the upside from that last closure above the topside Challenger band would be actually $8,300. And of course, that was a little bit more on the, a little bit more on the conservative side, we could say. Let's see what happens if we take it to like 300%, because we did see several actually above 300%, in fact, and that would actually put Ethereum above $10,000. So can I now say that there is a way forward, historically speaking, for Ethereum to $10,000 or $10,000 plus? Yes, of course. I also do think that it's rather interesting, especially after listening to Crypto Cobain and his partner Ledger, who I really, really like, and I really strongly recommend them. They seem like really good guys within the crypto space, giving it like a good name, like doing good things, which is cool to see, man. It's really fucking cool to see. And they just seem like, just just cool guys. I want to date them. No, I'm just kidding. Stupid thing to say. But most importantly, I was listening to them, and they were talking about one of the upcoming features in Ethereum specifically, which is going to introduce like a deflationary sort of aspect of this asset, I suppose. I believe that has to do with EIP 1559. Is if I'm proper on that one. Again, feel free to check me on that. I am not the fundamental guy, but at the end of the day, typically speaking, fundamentals should play well with technicals, and in this case, it seems like we do have that. So if that comes to fruition, then yes, not only do we have a fundamental catalyst, but we also have a technical catalyst as well. And at this point right here, do I think that Ethereum is going to go for a bit of a run? Yeah, I do on the greater scale, because every time frame that we go that's higher, it becomes more and more bullish. As you can see right here on the monthly, this is really, really impressive. As you can see, in fact, just coming into May, we see everything with continuation signals right here, at least for another month, and I'd be even willing to say probably another like month and a half, 2 months, as this is a very, very impressive run. 3-day is closing not tonight, actually. It must be the 2-day that's closing tonight, and yes, it is closing tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I'd say any sort of a closure, especially above last 2-day closing high, which was 3,500 about, and the topside Challenger is actually well below that at 34.35, is going to make me bullish for the next 48 hours or so, looking for new all-time highs on top of that. So I do believe that this is a trend in motion right now. We technically have not seen the breakout just yet on the daily. As you can see right here, structure is still kind of holding sideways a bit, but ultimately, am I looking at further north? Yes, I am, and I do believe that Ethereum is going to probably make this move early this coming week, maybe even today over the weekend, as as the 12 hour is looking really fucking strong here as well. We can see a complete bullish reset right here on 12-hour ADI DMX as it comes all the way down, essentially as price action is still continuing with the trend to the upside. And I believe if we go over to our regular charts over here and go to the 12-hour, we should have, or do we have, actually no, we do not have. I was going to say we probably have some hidden bullish divergence there. We actually don't. But regardless of the fact, it's still looking pretty fucking good to me as that is a continuation signature anyways. Same thing on MACD histogram, same thing on SMI. I mean, this is all just follow through with each other. I'm curious what the 4-hour says as well. Just for a full intensive look, we do see 4-hour ADX DMI is starting to set up a DMI plus signal. It's not there just yet, but I'd be looking for this one as like maybe the lowest term time frame to be looking for a the next momentous move to the upside. Of course, 4-hour SMI is a complete bullish reset right there too. Same thing on MACD histogram, which we actually do have hidden bullish divergence here between this low and this low. I mean, we're literally getting negative histogram right here on a much higher low on price action. Typically going to be considered a relatively good thing. And if you are a pattern trader, which in this case, would I be a pattern trader? I mean, it's technically actually not, but in this case, we do obviously have like a rising trend line for our higher lows here. If you're a little more aggressive with it, I'm sure someone's going to be putting in like some sort of a horizontal right there and saying, hey, this is an ascending triangle. And, it does kind of have the shape and smell of it. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's too obvious here. However, and usually when it comes to patterns, like I want them to be as obvious as possible. However, I'm curious to see if that target lines up with that $4,000 area that I was looking at earlier. And let's just see what it would kind of imply. And yes, it actually would imply a little bit more of a generalized target, actually about 3,800. So not as aggressive. I actually do think that it has more upside than that, to be fair. So at the end of the day, most things are lining up with each other right now. And we do see that this is obviously going to a contraction phase right here on the 200 bands. And if we actually go over to our BBWP, which Mr. Caretaker made freely available for everyone and even open source as well, I imagine we're going to see it massively contract here. And yes, we indeed do. And this is a setup that I absolutely fucking love. So we see BBWP in the single digits. So that is implying that we are very likely to look for a nice breakout, a nice move out of this range right here. We have a very obvious and well-defined range. If you want to take it for the 4-hour here, it would be quite simply this, just a nice horizontal right here, right around 3550-ish region. And then do you want to use a blue box right here? I actually think that you could be more aggressive than that and just mark off this local low right here at about 3425. And as long as it maintains that, I do essentially run with a Bula-ish bias, 4-hour RSI, giving us many drives of hidden bullish divergence right around the edge of the bullish control zone. You know my rule for that. Anytime I see consolidation in that format, I am going to be looking for a move in that direction. And we do see 4-hour TSI is coming down for that trend line that we identified yesterday, actually. So rather nice. It would imply we do a little bit more sideways into maybe later Saturday, early Sunday, something like that. However, as this draws naturally closer and closer, the signature, the condition needed to actually cross above the signal line and give that bullish signal once again will become more and more close to price action. But right now it is technically speaking at 36.36, and this is another freely available Caretaker indicator. So there you go. I also want to check it out on Caretaker's STC. This one's actually not freely available. It is available on the app, however, as some people have asked. But I just want to see what the upside targets are going to be on a resolution. And what do you know? We are seeing the sell number 1 target right around $4,000. Now getting a sell number 2 at about 4450-ish region, which is starting to play into that continuation idea. 2 days kind of in the same area as well. 12-hour is also in the same area as well, a little about $50 lower, but that's okay. And again, generally speaking, I am looking for this to head in that direction. Let's go down to the 4-hour right here to see. Yep, another bull zone consolidation. Momentum remains the upside as long as you're above 34.77. I like that. And actually overlaid HVP here with BBWP. You can see that in this case right here, HVP is actually saying that or it would actually be telling you that this is, pretty neutral from a volatility percentile perspective. Like it's neither egregious to the upside nor the downside. It's neither fully like expanded nor fully contracted. Over here though on BBWP, you can see that it's way the fuck down there. And this is suggesting that we probably do. I mean, it's rather likely that we get a move. Probably, I do think anytime, in the next 48 hours, it's actually rather likely. Okay, cool. And also we can see that it's actually freshly moving up in the bullish control zone. All of this looks good to me. So I do remain bullish on Mr. Buterin. Let's go check out Dogecoin here too, just because I think this one's going to be the hype coin of the day, especially with the event coming in. And, you know, if you're not familiar with these sorts of events, this is going to be a really fun and educational segment within the next 24 hours. Not led by me, but led by Mr. Musk and the Saturday Night Live crew. So whenever you see hysteria like this coming into an event, and, you know, Elon Musk kind of has like, you know, he's kind of like associated in the public lexicon with Dogecoin. Now, is Elon Musk like a Dogecoin proponent? Not really. I mean, at least from what I've gathered, it seems like he's kind of like a troll. Like he's a funny guy. He's got a sense of humor, which is kind of rare for these types usually. But anyways, more to the point, when you have this sort of hysteria going on, you know, the expectation, I believe, is especially with like these, you know, these TikTok traders, these like Instagram traders, if that's still a thing. I think they're just like Forex traders. The guys with like the fake money, they're great. They're fucking great, man. But the expectation is that, you know, their mind starts running wild, and, you know, all these sort of memes start running around in the, you know, not just their minds, but in the sort of like market mentality. And they think like, you know, along the lines of Elon's going to say some along the lines of Dogecoin is going to be used for the intergalactic currency of the undiscovered worlds. Like, okay, probably not, and also probably not, meaning he's probably not going to say that, and also that's probably not going to happen. You know, again, we are dealing with something here that is, you know, by definition, you know, by its own like fourth what's word that I'm saying, what's word that I'm looking for, by its like own description, is useless. You know, it's useless. It doesn't have any development going on. It has nothing. It's a dead project. It's a great meme. I really do wish that I bought it, just because, you know, then you'd have the story that you made fucking money on the best meme of all time. But in this case right here, you know, a lot of the time into these events, what happens? Well, big market movers, people with big books and big trading equity, they'll come in and they'll realize that they now have liquidity to just dump into. And in this case, I imagine that this is going to be a fucking shark's wet dream as they kind of circle around. Now, do I think that they're there just yet? No, it's exactly as I said the past few days here. I actually still think that Dogecoin has had some more new highs to go through here. In fact, actually, we made a new high last night. Hey, there it is. No, just kidding. I think that we got one more move here, as I said before. How high can this move go? I don't think it's wise to try to guess where the parabolic high can be on these like really crazy events, but, you know, if there's a few areas of interest that I'd point out, I'd say low 80s and then upper 80s. So like 81.5 cent and then about 88.5 cent to 90 cents region is where I'd be looking towards. In these sort of situations, anything can fucking happen. It gets fucking crazy, and believe me, it always looks obvious in hindsight, yes. However, you know, leading into it, you know, while I am talking about this very likely having the rug pulled probably sometime this next week, I would not front run a decision like that. I would certainly not short this thing until we get something resembling a lower high. And I wouldn't even short this thing to begin with, because it's a shitcoin and I don't want to fucking trade it. But looking at this right here, you can see from the past iterations that this thing pumps and dumps fucking hard and out of nowhere. See this one over here? This is kind of what I'm looking at right here, to be honest with you, as it does make a, you know, makes a slightly higher high right here, then boom, goes on for another move, and then catastrophic just bleed out for the next, you know, year or so. And this doesn't look too much on a log scale, but let me show you how Dogecoin kind of acts historically speaking. So we'll go back first to the genesis here. Here's your ICO dumper. I don't know how this one like actually started, but, you know, you got your dump right there. We'll come all the way down here to the next wick. That's 75, spot 75. Pretty nasty, pretty fucking nasty. We get this pump out of nowhere, and then we dump out of nowhere again. And that's about a 60, almost 8% drop down right there. You might call that a crash in some circles. Then we have this one over here in 2020, actually, a little bit more recently. And what happens after that? We come down about 55.5%, rather nasty. Then what happens after that? We get this 34.5%. We get this one over here. And these ones are like even still bullish, actually, which is rather funny. 34 spot 75, and then we get some big ones over here more recently at about 52% to the downside. We get this very nasty one over here coming down, and again, it doesn't look like much, but that's 53.5% to the downside. And then we get this one over here more recently, another 71% down almost. So, at the end of the day, I do think that this is going to, go through the same sort of behavior as it has before. Now, there is something rather interesting about Dogecoin that I should point out to give it its due diligence here. Actually, this is not fair because we are only going to 2019 here. Let's go for a more long form historic chart to just kind of show how bad this can actually get really quickly. I'm going to go to Poloniex for this. So that's going to have the most history typically. All right, cool. Here we go. All right, so now we can go all the way back to January 2014 as opposed to 2019. And this first dump right here, that's 95.5% down. Then pumps and dumps again right here, another 85.5% down. Pumps and dumps right here, 70.5% down. Pumps and dumps once again over here. This was 2017 mania, 85% down. Then pumps and dumps again. And what do you know? Another 91.5% down. And then, what we're doing right now, essentially. So at the end of the day, this is extremely likely to end in tears. The rug extremely likely will be pulled, and a lot of new investors will get a very life-changing lesson if you let it be, or some tears. But, that's just what we tell ourselves. It's like, when you lose your fucking baseball game when you're a kid and your parents tell you, it's not about whether you win or lose. It's how you played the game. It's like, kind of. This learning shit sucks. but yeah. Anyways, there's actually a couple things to say here though. All right, there is one thing that I would feel comfortable with saying. Do I think that Dogecoin will ever go back down below 0.3 of a cent again? No, actually, I don't. I actually don't, as it never has taken up the prior cycle low after, surviving a cycle essentially. So survived the 2014 to 2015 bullshit over here, survived the 2017 to 2018 bullshit over here, or 2020 bullshit over here. And then, at the end of the day, this one very likely does play out another, 80 to 90% drop down, but an 80 to 90% drop down on an asset that is, and I presume it's probably going to get up maybe somewhere around maybe even $1. It could get to $1. It's possible. But even then, what's 90% down from there? That's 10 cents. That's around low teens, 10 cents region. And do I think that could happen? Yeah, I do think that could happen. I mean, this thing just pumps and dumps out of nowhere. So, over time, this thing very likely does come back down somewhere around there. But again, would I be shorting this thing just blindly? Fuck no, I would not. That can be a career-ending move because weird things do happen, and who knows what the next meme comes into this market could be as well. We just don't really know. So, at least for now, I'd be on watch just because an event like this typically is used as liquidity for bigger accounts to sell into when they know that they have the buyers there, and I imagine they've been accumulating, especially for the run in in 2021, a little bit over here, but most importantly, way the fuck back on over here. So a lot of these guys were in below 1 cent. I mean, this is your accumulation phase realistically from about 2018 to 2020, just like most of the other cryptos in this market as well. So the people who are really maintaining this rally right now, they got in so much cheaper, and at some point they're gonna have to start nibbling. And when you see this price action over here, and over here, that is them taking profits and then reaccumulating and then trying to get into the upside. But you can see with each and every one of these successive drives, the volume declines, and on this one actually the volume declines significantly, in fact. So what does that imply? It implies that we have waning momentum to the upside, if you will. But again, do I think that there's going to be some more highs here? Probably yes. Very likely yes. I would be on lower high watch coming into this, early portion of this next week, maybe late portion of this next week, as that's typically when those come to fruition. So I don't think that we see the catastrophic rug pull today or tomorrow. Probably sometime this coming week, and we'll obviously watch this one hopefully live if possible, because I think that would be rather enlightening. I'm just curious. I don't really think that momentum oscillators are going to be too useful in a scenario like this, but we can go reference it on this chart over here. And again, the 4 hour is getting ready for continuation. I strongly believe this one's going to actually move higher from here. It very, very likely will. 4 hour hidden bullish divergence, 4 hour TSI turning up in the bullish bias zone on expanding volatility as well. I like all of that. Daily is going to be more or less continuation here too. Yes, we will very likely make some divergence below the 16th of April high, but again, it can still rally up quite a fair bit. I think it's rather unlikely it gets above 96.69. So daily will inevitably have divergence at some point, but again, until it confirms a local high, it's not there. It's not fucking there. So at the end of the day, to kind of wrap up Dogecoin, actually a few more highs here. Wouldn't be surprised to see this thing get into the low 80s, maybe even 90s. maybe in a buck. Again, I've learned my lesson in the past. Do not try to fucking guess the top, or don't try to use whatever your fucking secret sauce is in these sorts of situations, because this is like the twilight zone right now. And it's best to just be looking for that next lower high potentially if you really do want to be shorting something like this. Or the better alternative would be to be getting out of longs, perhaps, as ideally you kind of just play the trend here as it was quite your friend for a long time. But again, it actually should be noted that long term, it hasn't taken out the last cycle lows ever in almost 10 years now, almost 10 years of operation, as we are. Yeah, it was kind of born in like 2014. So yeah, we're about there kind of. All right, cool. Oh man, I already failed my mission today of trying to do Bitcoin or trying to do this all below 20 minutes. But you know what, we're gonna try anyways. Okay, so Bitcoin right here, it is looking to me like it does want to crawl above the top side of the medium term time frame range. I actually believe that we saw one of the resolutions yesterday that I was looking for over here. Yeah, I believe we saw a 4-hour high closure, no, actually, hold on. Why is my high right there? I would have actually had it right down around here, and in which case it actually still wouldn't have been broken to the upside, but it's right on the precipice of it. We got the golden cross right here on the 4-hour, and that is starting to get divergence away from each other. 4-hour RSI is neutral to bullish. 4-hour TSI is bullish. I'm not bearish on this chart. It's more bearish. It's sideways and up. The question is, to me, does Bitcoin give us another opportunity somewhere just around $50,000, or is that over and we're just rekeying it right here and just try higher, over the next month or two? I don't really have a strong proclivity on this one. I think actually right now is the time to be looking at altcoins, to be honest with you. One of the few times, although, well, not so few, if that's been the main dig for the last, the main trade for the last, I don't know, couple months now, 2-3 months in fact. So as far as Bitcoin goes, can be bearish, obviously macro below $49,000 on a lower low, but it's not shaping up into that right now. We're not getting that behavior. It looks more to me that the more that Bitcoin goes sideways here, the bigger base that it does build. Now, the one thing that I am looking for to kind of time this next move is the hash ribbons, of which we still have not seen a buy signal over here. Now, to be fair, they do converge rather rapidly once you do get that buy signal. So realistically, from all the iterations that we have seen, and we've gone over this in detail over the past week, and I won't do it on this video. I'll do it on maybe tomorrow's video, but anytime that we've seen the capitulation signal to the buy signal, it's been about an average of a month from those signals to that signal. However, the signal from buy signal to next major move, we saw on average was about a week to 2 weeks. And you can go through all of these, and I suggest that you do so that you can kind of see exactly for yourself, but they pretty much all fit that bill. To me, what Bitcoin is doing is something similar over here. It's going through a very long form consolidation, which is healthy long term, and it would make me bullish long term, and everything on the daily is actually decent here. I mean, daily SMI continues, daily MACD is fine, daily ADX DMI is not giving us a signal either which way, so it is a reset right there. But ultimately, I still do think that we have some waiting time here. Maybe later this month we see a breakout, but seeing as we haven't seen necessarily even the buy signal here just yet, and we did get that last signal actually late April, it could actually be early June perhaps, but ultimately I do still remain long-term bullish on Bitcoin. That has never changed. The question is whether Bitcoin comes back down to $50,000 or not first, and that is just I think for now I really don't have a strong opinion on it. If anything, I'd be looking for sideways and up. But I can flip off on that every fucking day, basically. Anyways, go over and check out Ethereum, Bitcoin, as I did say. I'll look at that really quickly. Consolidate a high level and a high on the 4-hour right there. Weekly is going to pop above the prior mega breakdown in July 2018. Next major targets on the macro structure are going to be 7.25 billion satoshis, or is it 7.25 million satoshis? Oops. Got a couple zeros there, and then after that about 8.5 million satoshis. Ultimately, though, I do think that Ethereum is going to follow what the rest of the market is doing, led by, or was kind of first sprung upon by, I believe, the DeFi sector in a lot of cases, where it's actually making new highs. In fact, there's nothing bearish about this chart right here. A 3-month long accumulation phase, golden cross on the weekly. This is all looking good to me. So I remain very much a long-term bullish on this. Even on the daily, could we see a pullback? Yeah, it could very easily pull back to 5.8, 5 spots, 7.5 million satoshis. I don't have a strong opinion on that. I don't really care about that. Even on the if we go down to the 4-hour, they would say that's maybe a little bit less unlikely. We did get a jewel sell signal over here. a little bit concerning, I suppose. Maybe we could be looking for a little bit of a pullback, but I don't feel compelled by that. It's really looking for the long signals out of something like this that I'd feel a lot more comfortable with as is a really impressive move thus far, and I don't think it's done. In fact, I think it's far from done. All higher term timeframes are still bullish, so fucking around with the lower term timeframe signals is perhaps not the best use of risk. Anyways, I think I'll leave it off there. I do want to keep this one below 30 minutes, so I will shut it off. I want to wish you the best and the happiest. Hopefully, it is nice, safe next few days, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Take care and see you hopefully soon.